Hey everybody, welcome back to our channel. Thank you so much to all of our new subscribers. I'm sorry that it's been a little bit of a break since my last video. In case you guys haven't noticed, around the world, and especially here in the United States, we are dealing with COVID-19. So I just want to give you a little bit of an update and just let you know what's going on. So here we go. Okay, so as you can see, I'm in a very different room. Where am I? Okay, so I'm going to give you guys a little bit of a tour. This is our makeshift classroom. This is actually a closet here. And this room was actually our foster daughter's. We moved her into the bedroom over there in that next room. So we basically brought up and turned a lot of our organizers into, for school supplies. But we have arts and crafts stuff over here and over here. And then over here is all of her stuff. And then of course we have microscope, a very old chair that I had to clean off from the garage. And then one that we brought from downstairs, upstairs. And this is our working station. This is her laptop. It actually used to be mine, and that is mine now. My little daily planner and bills and all sorts of stuff I have to go through over there. Sensory bottles, of course, tissue, and basic paper, a little slime for sensory. These are actually a sensory tool to chew on. Don't worry, I do clean these before she has this, but this is to kind of alleviate any tension or anxiety. Basic schedule, and then of course a whiteboard for whenever we have to, do math or do anything like that. Basic organizing of supplies, obviously hole puncher and stapler. Keyboard, because our daughter does take choir, so we do have to submit recordings to her choir teacher. And then these are, I guess, more or less my supplies, our supplies, extra stuff and whatnot. And of course, some paper for us to apply here. And that hammer is to hang up stuff that we're going to be doing over there in that room. Now that you guys have kind of seen our classroom, this has been a very stressful, trying time in our country. And it's been a little over 100 years since the United States has had to deal with something like this on this level, in this magnitude. I'm not saying that we didn't deal with stressful times and hardships during 9/11. So by no means am I diminishing that very stressful time in our history. But as far as a viral pandemic goes, yes, the last one, according to history, was in 1918. And so to kind of give you guys an update, the classroom kind of speaks for itself. That is how we're doing. Homeschooling has been challenging, mostly because I am actually going to college online. So I'm dealing with my full-time curriculum plus hers, and she has 8 classes. Our school district here in Texas is closed until the beginning of May. And that is to be determined. So TBD, which is very surreal. And honestly, I'm very concerned that they even placed a date when announcing that, when our state governor here in Texas announced that it would be in the beginning of May, because so many parents across the board in Texas were, I think, definitely raising an eyebrow, mostly because, we're all trying to figure out why not just let the last 9 weeks of the 2019-2020 school year finish out. Because at this point, we're on the last 9 weeks of school for the public school systems. And I know that is the case throughout the country. I mean, that really doesn't apply, I would say, to homeschooling situations or facilities, because I was actually, ironically, looking into all of that for our soon-to-be daughter. And I will say there are pros and cons to homeschooling. I remember my stepsister telling me that that it's a lot more involved than people realize, that you really need to be consistent with your schedule. And so whatever schedule you set, you need to stick with. And I think that has been really hard for a lot of people. I've seen Facebook post after Facebook post, and even a little bit on my Instagram, not mine personally, but people that I follow, that keeping a schedule seems to be a real struggle in their families. I will say that in our home, we've been very fortunate. So hopefully this was a little bit helpful for you guys today. I did want to answer a few questions that have been sent to me to let you know, unless you are actually in Texas, which you would already know this. If you're in a different state, more than likely your Child Protective Service agency or your state Department of Child Protective Services, they have probably ceased, visits or biological parent visits, unless for some reason the judge in your case has decided differently. Many people are having to do a lot of FaceTime and virtual. I will just say that the best way to handle the emotional strain and stress of a FaceTime or Zoom or Skype visit with a biological parent, because a child is, or a teenager is going to experience kind of that rise in anxiety and emotional distress, because they're being triggered without them realizing it. They're being triggered by seeing that parent or seeing that family member or seeing that sibling that kind of reminds them of old times. And so I would definitely say, working off that energy, trying to think of kind of a way, especially if they're very young children, think of a way to be physically active outside, so long as the weather is permitting, or inside. Think of, a fun way to turn the house into kind of like a scavenger hunt or an obstacle course. For teenagers, the best thing to do is to get them to talk about it, to process, or strangely enough, have a dance party, blast music that they love, that they just really get into, and just dance hard to it. Sing or just kind of be physically active. Go for a walk. Again, if weather permitting, go for a drive. I mean, that is social distancing. You're just driving around, and go to an approved drive-through that you and your family, know is safe and know is practicing very well, sanitary practices. Try to get them talking and moving and working through a lot of that emotional upheaval that can happen with virtual visits. The other thing is that I did want to ask, that some people have actually asked about is, are foster placements being halted because of the pandemic? Here in Texas, no. Now, I cannot speak for other states because I obviously I don't live in other states. But here in Texas, I've had many families post on our private parent groups that they are getting phone calls for foster placements coming in. It has slowed because obviously the children who are currently in hard places who are being abused, neglected, or both, the safe people that were in their life that were able to report, obviously they're not in that child or teenager's life. So yes, is there going to be a surge of cases once the intensity of this pandemic is over? I would not be surprised whatsoever. How can you help? That was another question that I got. How can you help? Reach out to foster families, to foster and adoption agencies in your local area. Ask them, is there a way you can donate extra supplies from your home, baked goods? That may seem a little, irresponsible to some people, but obviously if you know your community well enough, if you reach out to churches and you say, hey, I would like to donate this extra sanitizer, these extra wipes for babies, or just clean wipes. I can go pick up diapers and donate that box. These are things that can help foster and adoption agencies. These are things that can help churches that do try to provide services for foster and adoption families in your local area. And that's the best way to support those people while we're all trying to practice social distancing and while we're all trying to be very responsible citizens during this pandemic time. But above all, guys, and I will say this because I have really had to focus my mental health toward this. Please, please, please practice in having hope, picking out the small joys in life, maybe practicing with your family. We, at nighttime, before we go to bed, we try to mention one thing that we're grateful for. And sometimes it is a stretch. I won't lie, it's a stretch. I mean, because life has significantly changed. Life is very different. But in these times that feel dark, that feel uncertain, that feel strange, this is where we need to come together and be strong and be confident and try to help each other, in a responsible way. Connect with people that for a fact do struggle with anxiety and depression. Reach out to people even if they don't struggle with anxiety and depression, because that helps your mental health. All right, guys, like I said, I hope this was helpful for you guys today. I hope I answered as many questions as possible. If you have any more, please comment down below. We're one of few channels that actually still has the comment feature open. All right, guys. I hope the next video won't be so delayed, but until then, stay safe, be well, and I will see you next time.